On this week's episode of the Buccaneers Coaches Show, newly hired men's soccer coach Jonas Tanner introduces himself and shares some of his plans for taking over the men's soccer program. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Buccaneers Coaches Show. And today on the show is our newest addition to the Buccaneers coaching staff, our new men's soccer coach, Jonas Tanner. Jonas, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I know we got to meet you a little bit last month when you were coming through, and we were deciding on who to hire. We got to know you a bit, but I just kind of want to give you the opportunity to let everyone else know who we're bringing on. So, who is Jonas Tanner, and what can we expect out of you as just a person? What's your background?
Well, like you said, first name Jonas, last name Tanser, 45-year-old. Born and raised in Sweden. Came to the U.S. first time in '92 as an exchange student. Lived for 1 year in Northfield, Minnesota, just outside Minneapolis. That was my first taste of the U.S. Went back to Sweden, finished our school system. Went back to the U.S. For college. That time I ended up just outside of Seattle, Tacoma. Spent 3.5 years there. Met my wife. So my wife is from Seattle. Played soccer out there. Stayed on an extra year. Played for the Sounders. Back then, they were not in the MLS. The MLS was just starting up. Moved back to Sweden again. Stayed in Sweden 16 years and made the final move back to the U.S. in spring of 2016.
Gotcha. Yeah, because you moved around quite a bit over the years, both in Sweden and around the U.S. on the college coaching circuit. So you
Yep.
got a background that pretty extensive. Can you tell us a little bit about your coaching background?
Well, I played professionally over in Europe and Sweden for a long time. I didn't end my playing career until my early 30s, 32, 33. Went pretty much straight back into coaching. Got all my coaching badges, credentials. Coached at various levels in Sweden, top level, professional level, coached men and women. In Europe, I only coached men. Once we moved to the US, that was the first time I coached women. Coached in Seattle, took a position at Southern Utah, went from Southern Utah to Dixie, and from Dixie to Park University.
And, you did get the chance to see the campus last week. What attracted you to Park Gilbert? You are coming from a pretty big school, well-established school in Dixie State. So what attracted you to come here?
Well, when I started looking what could potentially be my next career move, obviously, the one thing that stood out was the ability to build, shape, and mold your own soccer program. That was something that's always intrigued me. Park University offers that. But also, the university being so new, you do have the ability to be part of even the university as far as at a very, very early stage. And when I met Jeff and we had the talks about the future plans for the university, for the soccer team, for the athletic department, all those things kind of lined up with what I wanted out of my next career move. Obviously, I've been to the area. I know the area, which, when you look at making a move, sometimes you're not as fortunate at that that area, but that's an area I know very well. It's an area that I like. And it just, after my visit, coming home, collecting all the thoughts, the expressions, all that, it became really clear that, if I got offered the opportunity, it was one of those things that you couldn't turn down. It really lined up to everything I wanted.
Yeah, and you kind of hit on my next point, being that we're such a fresh school and we're all just trying to kind of build a brand, build a culture. And I know that's something that you've talked a lot about when you were coming through here. Why is that so important to you? And what kind of steps are you hoping to take as far as building that Park soccer culture here?
Well, any team, any organization, any business, that's really the founding pillar of any successful program business. It is the culture. And to be able to create the right culture, you have to build relationships. Everything surrounds relationships. As far as the culture goes, there are some key things that I'm looking for. Most of them are not really soccer related. They're people related. We are an academic institutions. Academic comes first. That's why it's called student athlete. It's not athlete student. Then I look at those personal characteristics: attitude, character, accountability, integrity, leadership, respect, responsibility, trustworthy, coachability becomes in. And I am a big believer in the last one, which is work ethic. I think you have to, in any organization, to build the culture, you have to surround yourself with people that are not afraid of rolling up their sleeves and dig deep. Not everything's going to be a straight line and an easy walk. There's going to be tough times. There's going to be bumps in the road. And you want to find out who you can go to battle with. And that's when you're going to need those characteristics.
Yeah, and I know you said you hit on it, building relationships with players, and why is that so important to you, and just to be able to get to know those players over the 2, 3, 4 years they could be here?
It's just the cornerstone of any program. There's going to be times when the student athletes are going through a rough time. There's going to be times when they're overwhelmed with schoolwork, regular work, soccer. And to be able to help the student athletes overcome those hurdles, which is also part of the coaching staff, you have to know them. You have to have that relationship where they trust you so they can open up. That's a great thing with being a student athlete. There is help. There is support around. There's tutoring help. There's academic help. At the end of the day, we can line all those things up and help them, but they still have to be able to walk through that door. And that's, if you build a culture that is founded on respect, trustworthiness, then you will get that.
Yeah, and I know one thing, you hit on it. It's student athlete. Student comes before athlete. And I know one thing you were really successful at Dixie State was keeping GPAs up. It was something that kind of fell under your umbrella. So what's your kind of goal for how you're going to initiate that with our team and ensuring that they're able to do the same thing?
Well, I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, yes, we're talking about men's soccer, Park University, but the bigger picture is, and it might sound harsh sometimes, but at the end of the day, very few are going to be able to make a living playing soccer. Once you graduate from college, you have a whole career ahead of you. And that's where the educational piece comes in. Education matters. It is important. And I've been fortunate enough to be involved in all the 3 universities that I've been involved in. We have had great student athletes. Have they worked hard? Yes. Has it been easy? No. But they have realized that, yes, it is a privilege to be a student athlete. Most often it is for 4 years. Then I'm going to entering the next stage of my life, my career, and a lot of them have gone on to getting their master's degrees. A lot of them that I still stay in contact with are very successful now that they left college. So it is very important. And it is one of the cornerstones. It is one of the things that you look for when you recruit. Yes, obviously we want to recruit the right person with the right personal characteristics, the right soccer knowledge, but we also want to recruit someone that can be a very successful student. And that is the bigger picture. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, you coach soccer on the field, but the amount of time over the course of a year that you spend with a student athlete, it's many hours. And you also, you coach people. Soccer is the byproduct, but at the end of the day, you coach people, and that's where the relationship comes in. That's where the academics comes in. I've been part of the academic system myself in the US, and I do think it's an awesome privilege to be a student athlete at a university.
Yeah, and you talked about, how much time you get to spend with student athletes and how it's not just limited to on the field. So I know you're going to get to meet a lot of your athletes here very soon, a lot of them for the first time. What can they expect out of you as a coach?
As a coach, they can expect a very thorough coach with a very clear approach to the game, how I want it played, why I want it played in a certain way. Is there steps that needs to be taken before you can get to playing the way I would want to play the game? Yes. Obviously, I haven't seen any of the players yet, so that's going to be work in progress. I am a coach that obviously I've collected a lot of knowledge over the years. I played the game myself. I do value those characteristics as work ethic. Soccer is a game that you have to be fit to play. There is no way around it. If there was a way around it, I wish I would have cracked it when I played, but I wasn't that lucky. It is a running game. And, I'll break it down with some stats once I meet the team. And once you see those stats, it's very clear how the game, what happens during the game. And you might not think about that until you actually look at it, but most of the game is played without the ball. You need the ball to score a goal, but most of it is played without the ball. So it becomes very important what you do when you don't have the ball. I do want, when someone watches Park University men's soccer team on the field, I do want them to see that, yes, we have a clear identity. This is what we do when we don't have the ball. This is what we do when we have the ball. And in the phases between having the ball and not having the ball, how do we act? How do we act towards each other? What is our body language? What will be our core team values? Because it's not just going to be a straight road. There's going to be some hard times. And at hard times, you need to know what is expected of you. I would probably say I am very demanding. But that comes also because I put high demands on myself. So the players can expect that practices high pace, very organized, very clear what I'm looking for, why I'm looking for it, and what I want out of the sessions. Same as the games. Starting there, that will be the foundation. Get those principles in play before we take the next step.
Yeah, and we're not very far away from being able to see those principles in motion a little bit. Should be seeing you here the next few weeks, and we're all really excited to have you around, Jonas. So thank you for coming on to the Coaches Show, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you guys for having me, and I look forward to being on campus in about 3.5 weeks.